Hey, y'all. Thanks for stopping by, and welcome to A Texas Girl Talks. I'm Lorena, your gal pal and host, and I'd like to invite you to grab a glass of sweet tea and join me on the porch for another story about Texas tenacity. This is a family-friendly spot where we talk about pathways, Providence, and life in general from a decidedly Southern perspective. Whether I'm sharing tales of the hard-scrabble existence of my grandparents, interviewing a Texas icon, or just chatting it up with my girlfriends, I can promise you'll be wanting a spot on the porch swing. So stick around. It'll bless your heart. Hey, y'all. In this pilot episode of A Texas Girl Talks, I sat down and had a good long chat with Marlo Ondrej, who's one of the most tenacious Texas women I've ever met. Marlo and I became friends after Greg and I decided we needed to acquire a couple of all-around working dogs that would be suitable for working cattle and game recovery. We'd owned several different breeds over the years, but did a little research and discovered that the Blue Lacy Dog was reputed to be smart, agile, quick to understand a given task, and they're the official state dog of Texas. We reached out to Marlo, who's the keeper of the Lacy Game Dog Registry, and she pointed us to a breeder who had puppies available. So as we got to know Marlo through the training events offered by the Texas Lacy Game Dog Association, I found out that Marlo is a direct descendant of the Lacy brothers who developed the breed, and that she was instrumental in lobbying for the breed's recognition and legal designation as the state dog of Texas. It's a story I know you're going to enjoy, so grab a glass of tea and settle in to listen. Marlo, welcome to A Texas Girl Talks. We're currently sitting in your beautiful home outside of Helotes that you share with your husband Gary and a constant ebb and flow of kids and grandkids. You have the gift of rolling with the flow and manage to successfully juggle all the areas of your life, including training tracking dogs, game recovery, organizing seminars for the Texas Lacy Game Dog Association, managing the Lacy Game Dog Registry, showing and selling real estate, and showing hospitality to whomever drops by. Give us some background on these aspects of your life that you're clearly passionate about.
Hi, Lori. That's kind of what I do, and it's just led to all this other accomplishments that I kind of just did because I was having fun and it was what I did. Originally, I actually started tracking. Actually, it wasn't a Blue Lacy. It was actually a Australian Shepherd cattle dog cross that just happened to be amazing because my husband at the time and I were avid bow hunters. My dad had taught me bow hunting and raised me through hunting. And so when I got married to Butch, he was an avid hunter as well. And we just had a dog that took naturally to it. And before that, had rodeoed and trained horses. And I'd done some AKC training on dogs and showing back starting when I was 15 and won a couple of ribbons on that. So I'd always been in training animals. And back then, horses and rodeo had gotten kind of higher in my life. Went back to doing more hunting with my husband at that time and really started picking up once this one dog just started just excelling at it. And, but he passed away. And then once he passed away, I started looking for a breed that was going to meet the needs because he just happened to be good at it.
Right.
And I was at Home Depot looking for dog kennels because I knew I was fixing to get another dog and I was going to start putting more effort into this. And a guy says, well, if that's what you're looking for, there's a guy that worked at Home Depot. He goes, why don't you try a Blue Lacy? And I'm like, I thought I had known every dog breed out there.
Right.
And I was like, you got to be kidding. So I actually went to start researching. And back then we didn't have internet.
Right, right.
And so I found a ad in the local newspaper, and it was a fireman that also bred Blue Lacies, and he sold most of them to the government trappers.
Oh.
Well, I called him, and he happened to have known me since I was a little girl because my dad was in the San Antonio Fire Department.
Oh, what are the chances?
And so he didn't have any puppies available for me then, but because they were already all placed to government trappers. But he let me come visit, and he handed me this one paper that had more about breed. So I started doing even more research and found out about H.C. Wilkes, which is in the Hall of Fame of Quinlan, Texas, for the work he had done. And so I started following that, and I had a cousin call me. And I was kind of like right in the middle of research, and she kind of irritated me. Her name was Winifred Roque, and I knew, I was like, if I tell her, she's not even going to know. This is going to leave it in a whole conversation. So I was like, hey, let me get back with you. She's like, no, what are you doing? And she wouldn't let me get off the phone. I'm like, okay, I'll tell you, it's this dog I'm looking for. It's a Blue Lacy. And she's like, okay, Marlo, because she did all the historian stuff of the family. Because she goes, well, that's our family breed.
Oh, my gosh.
And I was like, now you have my attention. Before that, I was not so much that way. But I was like, okay, now you have my attention. So she had all the documentation. My dad's grandmother was Virginia Lacy.
Okay.
And then, of course, she was one of Frank Lacy's daughters. And so that even got my interest even more. And then she gave me all the documentation, too. So at this point, I got a hold of H.C. Wilkes. He had one pup left. She was a tri-female, and she was about 9 weeks old. And I came up, and H.C., if anybody knew H.C., he fed a lot of kids, and he had to have money on his dogs. I went up there to buy the dog. And when he found out about my heritage, he wouldn't let me pay. He says, you take the dog home. And I said, H.C., no. I said, he would not let me pay for her. She was an amazing dog. But he had a fire at his house. And so some of his paperwork wasn't all there, but he gave me this paper and gave me the information to go meet Larry Boyd. Well, Larry Boyd happened to own an antique shop in Boerne, Texas, which was not very far from here.
Not at all.
So I got a hold of him and met with him. Well, he had gotten Lyme disease, and he was getting sick, and I just wanted my papers on my dog. And we started talking, and I started sharing with him how cool it was that I found out my heritage after I picked the breed, and how I was really excited about training this dog. And he says, I need you to run the registry. I said, you just met me today.
And you probably weren't at all sure you wanted to take on that responsibility.
No, it was a big shock. And so I was like, well, why don't I help you do it? And he's like, no, I really need you to do this. And so there was 300 dogs at that time left in the registry and the breeding program.
Wow.
He loaded them all up in my Suburban at the time, and the typewriter to go along with it, because it was not done on computers back then. And I was like, okay, I'll keep you updated. And, I was just like, wow, okay. And so then my dad and my kids at the time that were born, we traveled around to all the owners of those 300 dogs and visited with them and shared contact information and put our hands on them. So we kind of knew what was there, and to start grouping these owners together to keep a breeding program, so that we were really watching lines and then trying to go in this as, preserving this breed and maintaining it. And now we're up to 8,700 dogs in the breeding program.
That's amazing. Now, are most of them in Texas, or they're all over the United States?
They're all over the United States, but the main population is Texas. Okay. Absolutely. They really meet the needs of Texas terrain and hunters here. I mean, there are other, throughout the United States and even countries, we've had, them go different places, but the majority of your breeders are here in Texas.
Okay. Well, that's a good point for us to kind of segue into what you know about your ancestors. I know your ancestors came to Texas from Kentucky in the 1800s, and what were some of the challenges of frontier life that they needed to develop some specific characteristics in a dog to help them with?
So, they actually had to hunt for their food, and it wasn't like going to the grocery store. But they did have a packing house in Austin.
Okay.
So they raised, they had free-ranging hogs that ate on the free, the acorns out there because they were plentiful.
Right.
And then they had cattle. And so they would use the dogs to drive to market. So they needed a dog that could herd and drive, but they also had hunting needs and for food. And so they were, looking to try to breed a dog that would meet the needs of frontier life.
Okay.
And so that's how they were developed.
And so, let's see, they're noted to be the outcome of breeding greyhound, scent hound, and coyote.
We call it a pariah.
Okay.
So there's documentation showing that the Lacy brothers were involved in some captivity research done by our government on coyotes. So we have that documentation in Burnett County. But back then, and a lot of people don't know, the Lacy brothers were part of one of the last Indian raids out there.
Really?
Yeah, they still had lived with their houses where the upstairs, you pulled up the ladder at night so that you could sleep without worrying about
Indians crawling up and scalping you.
So back then, it was only in the mid 1800s, but they lived a different life than we did for sure. And
Completely.
so, that was, they had a lot of different needs, and, a lot of us hunters and people now, we also have some of those same needs. So therefore, I love Lacey's.
Yes, and we get to go out into the field or the woods and hunt and get a small taste of it. We have a lot of technology they never had, that we can utilize these days. What's that app where you can look and see the territory of everywhere you go?
Yes. Onyx Hunt.
Onyx Hunt. Yeah, my husband loves that. They were just out there with their wits and their dogs. We obviously eat what we harvest, but we have that option of going to the grocery store if we don't have a successful hunt.
Absolutely.
And they did not have that.
No.
I wish we could look back in time and see how they figured out which breeds to combine and how the whole thing worked with a pariah dog.
Yeah, we know it was probably back then too. There was a red wolf that was still in that area.
Okay.
So there is a chance, but that's very similar. But we knew it was either coyote or red wolf emphasis. So that's why we just call it pariah.
Okay. That covers all areas.
That's right.
I think you can see it in their eyes. When I look at a Lacey's eyes, they have it's an intelligent, piercing look, and to me, that's where I see that wild aspect come in. And yet, not only are they excellent trackers and hunters, when they're working cows, they just get in the middle of it. They don't make good apartment dogs.
No, I would not recommend one for any hunting breed. I would not recommend for an apartment.
Any active breed. I know personally, ours, they may be kenneled or in the backyard during the day. At night, they come in the house and sleep with us. I admit it. But if we do not take them out at least every other day and run them pretty hard, they might decide to chew up a pillow or something, So yeah, they need to run that off and it's good for us too. So another thing that people don't really know is that the Lacy families contributed all or most of the granite that is natural to the hill country area to the state capital, right?
Yes. So Marble Falls and Granite Shoals had all of that pink granite, and the family actually had that quarry. And so they donated all of the granite to build our capital in
That's amazing.
Austin.
Just donated it to build the capital. That is incredible.
Well, they did get a railroad out of it.
Oh, really?
Yes, ma'am. It's in the book of the capital, but yes, they made a deal where the state would put in the railroad to haul it in, but it also would help them as well. And so they donated all the granite to get the railroad as well.
I see. So
it was a joint venture.
It was, but it sounds like they were definitely before their time in development and, figuring out commodities and things like that. What else did the Lacys have going on besides the marble quarry and the dogs?
The packing house.
The packing house. Okay. That was a whole lot.
Yes, but they had 4 brothers to do it, and they all worked together and worked the dogs. My great-great-grandfather, Frank, was more known for, working the dogs and the cows and the hogs. And George Washington Lacy the brothers all did it, but George Washington more handled the quarry and those kind of facets as well. And he ran dogs too.
Okay. But they kind of divided up the responsibilities among themselves.
Right.
Okay, so we have talked about the registry and how you came to be in charge of that, the history of the breed. Tell us about how the Texas Lacey Game Dog Association was formed.
So when we were going around and doing the 300 dogs and starting the breeding program, we were able to get some of the older breeders to gather up. And I said, look, I can do what I can, but it does so much more if we join together.
Yes.
And then computer stuff started happening and some internet. So we were able to form the Lacey Game Dog Association, or Texas Lacey Game Dog Association. And we all started working together and getting information out and really working on the breeding program. We started doing events that people could come, competitions and different things to then, help build and make stronger. And they were also a big proponent when we started. In 2001, I actually started the lobby efforts in making the Blue Lacy's a state dog breed of Texas. And back in 2001, we did get them the honored breed. And so before the next session, we did more and worked harder with our representatives. And that's when the association, that year in 2005, we had the most people show up for a bill than any other bill that year.
Oh, my goodness.
We even had a Blue Lacy in the committee.
Of course you did.
We did. It was great. And so it was great. And, we did it to help honor the Lacy brothers that gave us the working dogs that become our partners and our, inspiration. We wanted to honor them and also honor the breed. They were developed here in the state and they meet the needs of Texas life.
And I didn't know that Texas did not have a state dog prior to this. How do you not have a state dog?
Exactly. That's what I thought. So I was like, let's do it.
Exactly. And I'm so glad you did. I mean, I tell everybody that these are Blue Lacy's. When we go somewhere and with our dogs, they say, well, what are these? So I get the chance to give my spiel and tell everyone about this is the Texas state dog and tell them all about the history and everything. So, if nothing else, they are a fantastic conversation starter.
That's right.
So in 2005, HCR 108 passed and former Governor Rick Perry made it legal and the Blue Lacy became the state dog of Texas.
And I still have a flag that flew on that day.
Do you?
Yes, I do.
Did they present you with that afterwards?
Yes.
How cool is that? Is that standard practice or did you
anybody can get them, so we signed up for them, yeah.
So cool.
Yeah, so we do have the flags that flew that day.
Awesome. Well, Marlo, I don't know if it weren't for you and your efforts, there might be a different state dog, but it wouldn't be the Blue Lacy and it wouldn't be the same. I'm really thankful for all the hard work that you put into that. I'm definitely an advocate for the breed now. I'm really grateful for the circumstances that led Greg and I to meet you and the whole community that is around this, because it is a community. You go to the seminars, you make friends, you are exposed to this incredible wealth of experience and knowledge, trackers, trainers, just people that have had their hands on not only Blue Lacy's, but all types of working dogs. It's an incredible resource for anybody who wants to learn more about handling their dogs, whether it's a Blue Lacy or not. I would recommend they sign up for the seminar. You may be over there going, it's going to get too big, but no.
We'll take over. That's one thing that the breed has done. I love working dogs. I love tracking, and that's one thing. The Blue Lacy's, and we open up all of our events to all breeds. Yeah. Because I just love watching a good working dog work and helping others and not losing our sport. And it's going to take this. It's a passion I've done for now, 3 decades. It's a passion of mine that, and a lot of others that have come alongside that we don't want to ever see this not happen anymore. And the only way we're going to do it is those young ones coming in and training and working and getting together and sharing our passions and our stories and our knowledge.
Yeah, to the legacy, to keep it going. Greg and I worked with 4-H shooting sports a few years back because there's a lot of current misunderstanding about firearms and the people that responsibly use them. And you're right. It's about teaching. It's about training. It's about exposure. And it's about, teaching kids about real life. Because at the end of the day, a gun is a tool. And if you're taught to use it responsibly, it can help you put good organic meat on the table. And that's a whole other conversation for another time.
And I will say we eat everything our meat is from what we've harvested. And so our dogs help us do that. But I like that we get to do it for the public as well.
Yes.
So we're taking an animal that was injured and we're not letting the meat spoil, and we're, recovering it when it wouldn't have been able to. And so
it would have just been a waste.
Or sometimes they're out there suffering and we're able to dispatch so that the animal doesn't suffer as well. So I really, my passion really is, like Charlie and I do cattle work or hogs and when we need to, but my passion is with tracking seminars. That's why I'm also a United Blood Tracker board of director and UBT judge as well. So I just got back Monday. I just got back Monday from Florida for a tracking event in Florida. So now it's really awesome to see this work that we do in United Blood Trackers. There was a lot of states you couldn't even legally use dogs to track, and now what was red in a lot of places that we couldn't go are now green states, and we have made a difference. Now there's hardly any states around the United States because of United Blood Tracker efforts and the members. It's all where they legalize now. So
right.
It's been a great, great thing for me to be a part of, since it's my passion, and the friends and the family I've met through all of it, and
seeing what these dogs can do, because I saw a little bit on social media about one of the dogs that passed as level 3, I think at that one you were at, and the challenges. There's no way a human can compare. We do not have the facilities or the faculties. We don't have that sense of smell, that instinct that they have.
Well, and they're also tracking even disturbed earth. So where people walked or an animal walked, and our eyes are not that great. So
No. As what actually, led us into this was losing that blood trail that night and just becoming so frustrated at our limitations. I don't want to say our limitations as hunters, our limitations as a species. When you get into a certain environment, when we lose the sight trail, it's kind of guesswork.
And any ethical hunter, if they're shooting game, they're going to go to every extent to try to find them.
Yes.
I mean, and that's one thing I love about the hunting community. I'm going to say 90% understand the ethical behavior of being a hunter.
Hunters have gotten kind of a bad rap in some communities, but it really does go back to education. I had a really meaningful conversation about a friend of mine one time. She just didn't understand hunting at all, never been exposed to it. She asked me, why do you hunt? And when I gave her the reasons, the organic meat, the being outdoors, the time with family, all of the positive aspects, she couldn't get past the point of harvesting the animal. And I finally said, do you ever eat Whataburger? Do you eat meat? And she said, well, yeah. I said, well, visit a packing house sometime. And the one thing I can say, because some of them are great, some of them are not, as far as their, cleanliness and all of that. But when you harvest a deer or a pig or whatever it is you're taking, up until that moment, that animal's living the dream. Yes, at that point, their life ends, but it is such a more better natural life than, something that's going to wind up at the packing house.
And the health benefits. I mean, now a lot of our meat has to have preservatives and
hormones.
Right. And so the health factor is a big deal for me as well. But you ask, why do we hunt? And for one, I thought, well, because my dad raised me to. Because I did these things and I loved it. And we ate the meat. And then on my other side of the family, not my dad's side is the Lacy side of the family. Well, on my mom's side of the family, and I've been hunting all this time, found that we're a direct descendant of Daniel Boone. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I was supposed to always hunt.
It's in your DNA.
Yeah. So,
where's your coonskin hat?
Exactly. Because it was like, hey, I was going to hunt no matter what.
And thank God for that. I mean, honest to goodness, for this lifestyle, for the dogs, for the community, and just the purity of it all.
And I love my grandkids now. I'm even hunting with my grandkids. In fact, I have a hunt book for her 1st of April, and she loves it, and she's already in the books.
This is Giselle.
Yeah. So she took a Nalwagai bull that silver. One side tip was broke.
Oh.
He was right there at silver gold, but she's already in the Safari Club International books
that is
at 11 years old on a free range hunt. And the year before that, her free range hunt, she stalked 32 hours before she got to take her bull, and only laid down with us 2 times for 3 hours. And it was, and she never quit and loved it. And every year, when are we going back?
The stamina and the drive. And I want to give a shout out. You were hunting with Chris Anderson.
Yes.
Down,
Port Mansfield.
Yeah, Port Mansfield. Chris is where we wound up getting our litter mates, our 2 Blue Lacy pups. We had called you. You didn't have any pups. You are the one that referred us to Chris. But within the community,
yes,
it really doesn't matter who at the moment has pups. Everyone is happy to refer within the registry to an ethical breeder. And so you're getting a true Blue Lacy dog.
And most of the time we've all hunted with each other's dogs and know what they can do. So
there's that. Well, we love ours. We'll always have a Lacy or 2.
And they make better hunting dogs when you do make them part of the family. You still got to put your training and handling on them. But the more bond you have with your hunting dog, the more they're going, the more heart they're going to give you out.
Yeah, the connection, because they want to please you.
Right, they're packed animals.
Yeah, that's true. And in our home, Greg's definitely the alpha. They listen to me after they ask him if it's okay to listen to me, but we're working on that. You can help us with that. Marlo, thank you for sharing your passion about the dogs and some of the history behind it, your family connections, so much incredible Texas history. Is there anything else we need to add to this?
No, I just think that, if you're listening to this and your passion is hunting, get your kids out there.
Oh my, yeah.
That's the only way we're going to keep this going and keep ethical hunters, and teaching them those ethics. So just get your kids out there, get your grandkids out there, and let's continue this legacy.
Absolutely. Amen to that. Well, Marlo, thank you. And at this point, we're going to say goodbye and let's go have some fun, okay?
Sounds good. Thank you, Lori.
Bye-bye. Well, y'all, that's all she wrote for now. But I'll be back with another story. If you'd like to drop in regularly, all you gotta do is subscribe to A Texas Girl Talks on Apple Podcasts or your other favorite podcast platform. And if you've got a minute to leave a review, I'd sure appreciate it, because every storyteller loves a bigger audience, right? Finally, if you've got a story of your own you're just busting at the seams to tell, you can head over to atexasgirltalks.com and set up a time for us to chat about all the details. Take a minute to check out my voiceover demos while you're there. And remember, your life is telling a story. Make it a good one.